All right, testing. I'm recording this just so this is gonna be playing mono blue tempo. I'm doing competitive constructed on arena. This is the deck list right now. Um, just a quick glance over the deck list. It's going to be 3 spell pierce and 1 essence scatter is where I differ from most people, as well as playing 3 Stormfleet aerialists. I think they're pretty nice. They come down as a 2/3 flyer with raid most of the time, and I have the sleep at the top. This is a 20 island count. I am a little bit nervous about running sleep at 4 on 20 islands, but with ops, usually that has worked out pretty well for me. I'm actually recording this just because hopefully other people can see how my gameplay mistakes are. Maybe other people can review my choices. I'm currently using this to mono blue tempo to grind for various decks. I have Izzet Phoenix built, but I actually don't even think it's quite competitive at the moment. So I'm going black to mono blue tempo, and I'm slowly working my way towards Jeskai. A little bit more on why I actually chose to have sleep is because there is a lot of mono red, and this kind of plays the same way with Stormfleet aerialists. If you usually can get attack in, it comes down as a 2 mana 2/3, which does end up blocking a lot of relevant creatures in their deck. Doesn't necessarily block the Steamkin or a bigger Steamkin or the Goblin Chain Whirler, but you know it can stop the other creatures at its size, which is mainly the Lavamancer and the Pyromancer, and then the 2 power in the air is pretty relevant. It's funny, this normally doesn't take this long to get pairing, but I've actually been doing really poorly recently in these leagues, so this is what kind of encouraged me to record, just trying to get other people's thoughts, and then figure out where I'm really making the mistakes. So this hand doesn't have an early threat. It has our best threat, was a Tempest Djinn, and it has a lot of interaction, but really for most of the time, right, if you land a Tempest Djinn, you want to protect it, and honestly that's not happening until turn 4. So this is kind of like a do nothing hand till turn 4, and since I have 2 lands here, I have to do nothing and then draw 2 lands. So I'm pretty sure this is a mulligan. Spell Pierce, Wizard Retort, same thing. It's too interactive, and I want to be using these to proactively protect my creatures and not really reactively, like without a clock. I don't think this hand is good. All right, this hand is a little bit better. There's no way to protect my creatures at all, but I have multiple threats. I do think Merfolk Trickster is actually, I think it's a great tool, and it's one of the worst attackers in the whole entire deck, right? It's 2 mana, it's expensive. It taps down a creature temporarily. The clause about losing abilities is really great, but for what you pay for it, it just doesn't appeal to me. Plus, it's one of the worst things to carry a Curious Obsession, to be honest. I would rather have any other creature like Stormfleet Aerialists, Mistcloak Heralds. I would prefer them much better to carry the Merfolk Trickster. I mean, much prefer that to carry the Curious Obsession over the Merfolk Trickster. Alright, so this is interesting. I have 2 plays here. I could play the Mistcloak Herald maybe into Lightning Strike if there is at Phoenix, or I can just, kind of catch them off guard, and flash in a creature. I think I'm just gonna flash it in. It'll dodge stuff like Beacon Bolt, even though rarely as an Izzet Phoenix player I would rarely never think about using a Beacon Bolt on a Mistcloaked Herald. It's just too much of a tempo swing. So now we have the Trickster here. I'm so nervous about sticking Curious Obsession on here. I do know most Izzet Phoenixes run at least 4 shocks, so this could just be possibly a blowout. But I mean, I really have nothing else going on here. I think it's just my choice to be proactive, right? Like, how do I win? Actually, no, I could still stick the Mistcloaked Herald. You know what? I think I'm completely fine here. I'm just gonna attack normally. Okay, so the way that it actually feels like they don't have a shock, right, with the way that they've reacted. So yeah, the way the passing priority makes me think they don't have a shock. So I'm just gonna go shields down here, and I'm just gonna opt to make a land drop. And that's another thing I noticed with this deck is that it's pretty hungry with its lands most of the time, especially if you don't stick in a Curious Obsession. You kind of want to hit your land drops because your way of closing out the game is a Tempest Djinn. And if you do stick a Curious Obsession. You want to hit your land drops anyway because of all the extra gas you're getting. So the main reason why I'm not sticking a Merfolk Trickster down to block is because there's no reason to tap this down, right? I could just put on the Mistcloaked Herald and just be on my merry way. So, I mean, it's very unlikely for me to die here, considering that they don't have perfect mana, and that, 2 red sources, only 2 blue sources total, so they can't really chain a lot unless, they play like Chain Whirler, etc., etc. So this is a bit nice, though. I have a Wizard's Retort. I was actually thinking about playing a Tempest Djinn just to get my clock on as soon as possible, but I think the Wizard's Retort is... I'm actually a fan of just holding down the Wizard's Retort here, especially if they can... the one ways I could just lose is if they get a Goblin Electromancer and they stick larger and larger Drakes. Kind of the same thing. I'm not really concerned about this Enigma Drake because I have the sleep, even though these things could kill me in 2 turns really quickly. And if nothing happens end of turn, right, it didn't seem like they had reaction before or any interaction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slam the Merfolk Trickster down and just tap down a creature. Alright, this is nice. Do some protection as well. I'm going to go swing in with everything. I honestly have no idea what's in his hand, so maybe I'm just getting lucky with this matchup. I guess there were a couple of plays I could have done differently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Djinn now because these things still have 0 power, so the Djinn should be able to just bust through it really quickly. But I mean, this could change immediately, which is why I don't want to ever let go of this Wizard's Retort. And if this should be very close to lethal. So that's a Lightning Strike on there. Interesting. So I have to figure out if I want to protect this or not. I'm trying to figure out what else they could honestly cast. With also 1 blue. In fact, it's kind of weird, I guess, with the auto cast there. Yeah, I'm not afraid about it being countered. I'm more particularly afraid of them cantripping exceptionally. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So now these Crackling Drakes are going to be 2/4s. That's fine. They can double block the Tempest Djinn, which is fine. Okay, so the sleep is pretty powerful here. Yeah, I think it might be best for me to just put on the sleep and swing in, and rather than tapping one of those down. Plus, it also helps that if they do go for a big counterattack, and I know this deck doesn't usually run a lot of counters. I'm pretty sure it's just a guaranteed sleep here. I mean, sleep seems very powerful in this situation, especially I get to leave him at 1. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sleep as... It's a bit clunky, right? It requires this specific state where they have blockers up and I need to cross the finish line. So this is a by far better start, despite how I think I made it a couple mistakes that game. But this has been a by far better start. I used to do pretty well with mono blue tempo. That's how I actually grinded my Phoenix deck and my Jeskai deck. However, the big problem was that I went 0-3 with it twice. So I don't know if I just had a bad run, but it was like 6 games in a row where it got pretty bad. And that was after switching to 0-3ing twice with Izzet Phoenix. So I didn't know if it was like a change in the meta, or maybe the 2 decks I had just were really bad against me. And also, if not familiar with Arena, these are best of 1, so I don't really have a sideboard, which is why my mono red matchup gets even worse, because you only have the initial matchup to play against them. Anyways, I'm keeping this hand. 1 mana threat, dive down, and Curious Obsession, ways to protect it. Okay, so this is also against mono red. Speak of the devil. So I mean, I just have to play this out right now. I don't think there's anything else I can do. I could play it on turn 2, but that's way too much of a tempo loss, especially in this matchup. I just have to hope that they don't think that this is worth killing, which 100% of the time it is worth killing. Yeah. Looks like they missed the land drop though. That's really good for me. That's not really good for me. What I'm really hoping here is to avoid a Steamkin. Well, actually, no. Steamkin is kind of actually pretty underwhelming. I'm pretty happy if they play Steamkin here. All right, so they have nothing there. I'm just gonna throw out Djinns. the main way you really just lose this matchup, in my experience, was that they just play something like Phoenixes, right, which are just great blockers, and that's why Sleep is really good in this matchup, because if you fall into a racing situation, the Jins can just punch through for a lot of damage, but the Phoenixes are just great blockers in this matchup. And it's kind of the same thing to the mono red mirror, right? It usually relies on Phoenixes just stonewalling the other side. I usually try not to consider Frenzy into the matchup too much. If they get Frenzy down, they're at a high enough life total where I can't race them, then they just eventually destroy me with the card advantage. So the opponent is thinking here, my next turn I definitely want to stick Curiosity and leave up the dive down and start swinging. It would be nice though if I could draw another land so I can stick down to Curiosity and leave up the retort, because if my opponent plays a land here, unlikely. Okay, so they have a Lava Coil for this. That's unfortunate. And I mean, the Skitu Lava Runner is just, becoming a full-on Goblin guy now, just dealing as much damage. I think it's just better to not be reactive, just play another Jin, considering how long that they decide if they want to kill it or advancing their board. Which is funny because I have really no way to translate my... I mean, I guess they quote-unquote have card advantage, but I have no really... I'm way ahead in tempo in my opinion, but I really have no way to translate this more, snowball it more without... Okay, this is perfect. So what I'm really afraid of are the Phoenixes, and they're still land drop away, so I'm just gonna slam this Obsession on and slam another Jin. And I mean, I have 2 Jins versus, even though they're 4 power, I think I'm pretty confident in my ability to race. I'm not gonna leave up the retort. I think just putting another 4/4 is just a much better play for me, especially with the opponent on 2 mana. Just get him dead as fast as possible. Same exact thing. I'll go to 10 here. That's fine. What I will do next turn is leave up retort. It depends on what they play here. Okay, yeah. I think this was pretty fortunate on my end. So maybe it was just a string of counter karma, string of good luck, going my way. It would be nice to get a land drop here. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Now just lets me leave up Merfolk Trickster, which can usually eat a Lava Runner, and also leaves up Wizard's Retort. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let that resolve. Actually, I'm fine with this. Then before combat, I'm just gonna resolve a Merfolk Trickster, tap down Lava Runner, and this should also just help me leave up Retort, because like one of the things you could do, right, is bolt me before the Trickster comes down so that the Retort is more expensive, and they just concede. Alright, so that's 2-0 before, but I mean, I don't really consider that a real display of skill. It doesn't take a lot to beat a mana screwed opponent, or it doesn't take a lot to out-tempo a mana screwed opponent anyways. Alright, and now we have the next match starting. And I'm not sure, I mean, I do think Mono Blue's, it's a fun deck to play. It requires a lot of concentration. To be honest, I just want a simple deck that I can just grind MTG Arena with to build my collection. I'm not gonna lie, like, if I had the, I'm not gonna keep this hand, but if I had the actual, oh man, not again. I'm going first as well. I don't think this hand is actually very keepable. I would need to hit land drops consistently. I would need to hit at least 1 land drop, and then, well, if I hit 1 land drop, I can Trickster end of turn, and then I can cure Obsession and dive down. But Trickster, once again, as I said, is like one of the worst creatures in a deck to actually carry. Curious Obsession, it's a ground block. It has no evasiveness. It gets chumped infinitely, and I mean, Jin and Retort aren't really a factor in keeping this hand. This is a tough sell. It's a bad hand that I'm trying to convince is good and worth keeping, just because of the Curious Obsession upside, and also I don't want to go to 5. I think, man, I'm gonna mulligan. Even better 5. All right. Well, I guess this one's just a wash. Yeah, I'll keep that 4. All right, let's go. Mystical Heralds. All right, 4 versus 7. I'm not really sure. That 6 card hand, if it was, I'm not sure if that was worth keeping. I do think like it's definitely possible to win with this deck if you go down to 5 and the opponent's just I would just kill this immediately, to be honest. Like, don't even let me untap. Like, if you're mono red and you're going, wow, are you kidding me? So if you're mono red and your opponent's mulligan to 4, you could just take the control route so easily against them, right? You just get them down, nail them, remove all their threats, and then just, you can easily take the control matchup. You could take the control route pretty easily with your deck being mostly removal spells, unless the only reason why you wouldn't probably want to kill this is because you might have a chain whirler that you want to land on 3, and that's the main reason why you want to kill it, right? Like if he attacks again with the Firebrand, okay, so this probably signals he doesn't have a chain whirler, which I'm pretty okay with that. I mean, I guess my only play is to play the Trickster on 2. There's not like I could do anything fancy with it. Okay, well, the Djinn is how I win, but I'd rather have land drops. But I mean, when you go down 4, you really can't ask much of anything, right? Don't play a chain whirler. Don't play a chain whirler. Oh, please, don't play a chain. Shock is okay. Oh, interesting. That was such an interesting target. Why were you shocking that? I guess they just thinking about they could just block the Trickster all day, right? But that would mean that they're not attacking with the Steamkin, which I think this is a pretty much free attack. Like, I would just swing in here. But then again, yeah, right? Like 4 power, like easy. I just don't know why they wouldn't shock that one though. I mean, I'm not blocking, right? I don't think there's a way for I'm not sure if how do I win if I block, so I'm just gonna pass. I mean, okay, I guess the route to victory is if the opponent is literally on mono lands, which is definitely not the case. So I can't really race this board right now. Next turn I will probably be forced to just block. Or maybe I could swing in with the Trickster and leave the Merfolk Herald to either trade. Well, no, I have to leave back both. I guess my opponent is really thinking about how they can lose this matchup, which probably just boils down to, yeah, and a Lava Runner, okay. I guess if that was the opponent, right, I would think about how you would lose, and you would lose definitely by sleep. But I'm 2 land drops away from that. Yeah, so just literally, if you want to play around sleep as a mono red player, you just kill all my creatures so they have no position to leverage the 2 untapped turns, right? Like, I can only do 4 damage right now if I get sleep. And, just hit me with a big beater. So the reason why I'm actually attacking is because I had the Merfolk Trickster in hand. I could tap down the Pyromancer, or I could tap down a Steamkin and still hold up a blocker for these 2. There is consideration for just ambushing the G2 Lava Runner, right? I can ambush the G2 Lava Runner, eating it up for free, but I don't think eating it up for free really nets me anything. This is not a grinding matchup at all. I think that if they want to get in 6 damage and I just eat up the Lava Runner for free at 1, yeah, it's game. I'm not winning this one. So if it goes back to, this is a little bit of hindsight, so I really can't use hindsight, but if I did keep the 6 land, the 6 card mulligan, that definitely would have been, I'm pretty sure that would have been a loss, right? Just the amount of interaction they had a shock for that. I probably would not have been able to resolve the Siren Storm Tamer, unless yeah, I'm not sure if I would have had any luck with the 6-card hand either. And it was just straight unfortunate that the 5-card hand wasn't very good. All right. This hand is actually kind of a fan of this, especially because I'm on the play. I can put a Trickster down on turn 2. So at the end of their turn 1, at the end of their turn 2, I can get in and attack with the Trickster, and I can put a Stormfleet Aerialist. I'm not looking to put the Obsession on a Trickster unless it's like, they're Jeskai control and they have no blockers. I just think that Stormfleet Aerialists and evasive threats should carry Obsession way better than a Trickster. And a Trickster is something I never really want to play on turn 2 anyway. I feel like they're always amazing turn 4, turn 3 plays. Like, my only time I'd ever want to play a Trickster on 2 would be to tap down an opponent's Wild Growth Walker so they can't resolve a Jadelight Ranger, right? Or when they resolve the Jadelight Ranger, they don't gain 6 life. Most of the time it's just a late game play, because that's when they really shine. So I never actually want to see Tricksters in my mulligan. Alright, this could possibly be the mirror, I don't really know. And there'll be a lot of, okay, no, so it's definitely looks like blue-black control, Dimir, maybe Grixis. In that case, I'm going to be exceptionally, okay, well, change of plans. Can I stick this? Yeah, I'm just going to stick this Obsession on it right now. So I'm not sure if they're actually going to have a lot of blockers, and then I also have the Retort and the Dive Down. So those were very fortunate draws for me. And the lack of pause on the opponent's side doesn't seem to signal that they have any removal spells. So I'm comfortable. So they definitely are Grixis. Wow. All right. I'm just gonna let that resolve. The opponent set a very early good game, and they're not conceding. So maybe they just don't like this matchup and they're complaining. I don't really know. Or maybe somehow Chromatic Lantern was the key for them to win. I have no idea really. I'm going to play the Stormfleet Aerialist, just another 2/3 flyer. I'm going to leave up Dive Down, Spell Pierce, or Retort. I mean, at this point, yeah, this is like the only thing that's actually worth retorting, is just a Nicol Bolas. There was almost consideration to not retort the Nicol Bolas, right? Because I had the Trickster up for turn 2. Or I could just tap it down. And then it's the same thing here. So I'm not actually willing to pose to the board, right? Because I can flash in the Merfolk Trickster for a total of 7 power, and then another Curious Obsession for 8 power. So I don't want to add to another Stormfleet Aerialist to the board yet, because there could be a board wipe, right? And I mean, if it's Ritualist Soot, they can go land Ritualist Soot, rendering my Spell Pierce useless. So I'm not willing to do that yet. Although this does change the clock, I do present lethal next turn if I play the Stormfleet Aerialist and then flash into Trickster. This is actually a pretty hard one. I actually do think I play the Aerialist then at this point, because that does present lethal. It's a 1-turn clock versus giving them a second draw to draw another board wipe. Okay, so that's a land. That's a Nikki B. That should be game. I'm just going to discard this Curious Obsession. I don't really need it. I mean, it says a lot when the mono blue player, right, discards a Curious Obsession. Alright. And wait, did I just miss lethal? No, that's 6. No, that's 7. That's 9. Okay, yeah. For a second, I was just like, did I miss lethal? Did I discard the Obsession? But I did the math correctly. And that's the deck that I think that mono blue does well against, right? I didn't have the most optimal hand. I had Merfolk Trickster as the attacker, but it's multicolored control decks. Really, the clunkier the deck is, especially when they're slowed down by their mana, mono blue can really prey on them. They're more likely to stumble. Even though the opponent didn't really stumble, they kind of pseudo stumbled, right? Because in the end, you saw that they almost like spent a turn to resolve Chromatic Lantern, which kind of did nothing. So it could also just be nature. Oops. It could just be the nature of Magic's Arena. Maybe some people have sub-optimized lists, but that's not very different from real life as well. Okay, so it looks like we have the mirror here. I kept a pretty suboptimal hand for the mirror. This hand looks much better if they have a lot of interaction. And I thought the hand was perfectly fine. Sorry if I didn't make any comments on it, but this hand is like perfectly serviceable. It does the job. It has threats. It has protection. I mean, the way I view the mirror, to be honest, is... So I can attack basically into a Flash Merfolk Trickster here, which will eat up my Mistcloak Herald. Which, I mean, that's fine. If they flash it in, I'll dive it down. Okay, so I don't have a Merfolk Trickster, which is very fortunate for me. In my experience, the mirror has usually been surrounded on whoever gets a Djinn first. But I need to make my land drop to get my Djinn. So they could actually get the Djinn first, right? They could just put it down here right now after attacking. Yeah, so if one player doesn't have the nutty Curious Obsession plan, those who has a Djinn or more Djinns and are able to protect it usually end up winning, because what happens is that you have a really large board standoff with Djinns facing each other because they don't want to trade, or person with the last Djinn wins, and then resolving a sleep just knocks out the other person entirely. I'm not blocking here. So my opponent mulled to 5, right? And they're still destroying me just because that's how good Djinns are in this matchup. I really hope that he has a Merfolk Trickster. He does not. Alright, I really need to hit a land drop here. If I was the opponent, this would actually be worth like spell piercing. We're past the Curious Obsession stage. I mean, he has that Djinn there. Oh my god, that's... Alright, so these are pretty anemic beats. Got the 1-1 beats. Even though I'm not really close to matching him in terms of power, because that Djinn is growing. Part of me wants to block there to keep my my life total high, but in case he has sleep. But I have these Storm Tamers anyway, which are fine against countering sleep. So I'm not going to attack with everything. I definitely have to keep a blocker up now. He could have a Merfolk Trickster or something, tap it down. I have 2 dive downs really to stop that, as well as a Wizard's Retort. So he's probably looking for a Merfolk Trickster right now in their opt, or looking for a dive down. Alright, and I'm chumping all day, every day. I really want to buy myself a turn. I'm just going to double dive down on this creature. It sounds like it's a waste, but I just need to convert. I just need to use my cards and convert them to useful. Like, what? This is going to be 7 power soon, and that's just going to kill. Ah, that's so annoying. Alright, so let's just put it on the Mistcloaked Herald and see what happens. And once again, I'm just going to leave up another blocker. He could have 2 blockers, a way to tap it down, but at this point, I'm not sure if I'm beating that anyway, if he somehow adds a Merfolk Trickster to the field. I need to draw a land here so I can leave up Retort and successfully leave up a blocker. That's pretty much... Oh, thank God. Alright, so next turn I could start resolving a Djinn that can hold back another 1 power creature along with the Djinn. Alright, so what do we have here? So yeah, like once again, it's even though I have way more resources than opponent mulligan, right? It's the person with the Djinn, the Djinn player wins. That's how they have a very strong chance of okay, yeah. So there's the Merfolk Trickster I was talking about. The real question is, do I leave up Siren Storm Tamer to sack to this? Or do I counter it? I think I just counter this. I don't think the opponent has any gas at all, so we'll see what happens. If they have a Spell Pierce, they got me, but I feel like they would have Spell Pierced the Curious Obsession earlier. Block again. Alright. And this time I'm going to leave up 2 blockers. Oh, perfect. Alright. I'm going to... Let's see the math here, right? So if I play a Djinn right now, they go down to 6, and I threaten lethal with the Mistcloaked Herald and the Djinn if they don't swing. So I don't think this changes the clock if I attack with these 2, because this brings them down to What is this? Well, this brings him down to 4. I'm pretty confident there shouldn't be a way for him to take care of the Jin because I should have a Siren Storm Tamer up. So I should technically be comfortable with attacking with everything. Yeah, that should be the case. Unless he has a counter for the Jin, but then again, he should have countered the he would have countered my Wizard's Retort on him in the first place. So this should technically resolve, and that should be it. Oh, Essence Scatter. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, well, I definitely got blown out there. Yeah, I guess that was game. Essence. I mean, to be honest, would I play around Essence Scatter as a one of? I don't think so. I don't think that would be the appropriate thing to have done. I guess another thing I could have done was play it before combat. And normally, most of the time, people say, "Oh, play your spells after combat." But in that specific case, dealing with counters, if I knew that it was going to get countered, I could have reacted differently. So that was definitely a mistake on my end. But to be honest, it's also completely correct to just save up your Essence Scatter. I think the opponent had that for a while. Just literally save up your Essence Scatters and just counter the Jin because the matchup resolves around getting a Jin on board. I definitely had the tools to win that matchup. I just definitely didn't consider that Essence Scatter. Alright, so this hand is pretty mediocre, right? These are full mana costed Wizard's Retorts. They don't protect anything. I would rather have Spell Piercers or Dive Downs in my mulligan, which kind of sucks. Retorts have been worse and worse for me, man. Even though they're the core of the deck, I would consider they just haven't performed as well, which is kind of sad. I'm really going to just consider cutting some of these because the matchup on MTG Arena does feel a lot faster. There are a lot more aggro decks, I think, than I don't know. Just well, I guess that applies everywhere in most metas, right? Where more aggro decks are the cheapest decks to build usually. Therefore, you'll find them in abundance. I was about to say, well, maybe that's because of Magic Arena, but I think that applies nearly everywhere, even in your local game stores or in Magic Online. Anyways, you have a turn 1 threat. But these retorts don't do anything. Like, you have no turn 2 play. Sorry about that. That was the phone. Hope that didn't scare anyone. I'm gonna mute the phone. Oops. Alright, so it looks like I'm going against mono red. That's very unfortunate. We'll see if this lives. And yeah, mono red's just not a good matchup. Yeah, just kill it straight up. Part of me was considering just building mono red. It just seems to be much more favorable in all the relevant matchups. Interesting, they missed the land drop. Oh wait, no, that was still my turn. Alright, what do you got for me? Chain Whirler? No Chain Whirler. Interesting. I just have to resolve the Jin here and hope that I can untap with it. Like, I have no protection spells. I have to resolve my threat. I can't not do anything. I'm a proactive deck, right? There's nothing I would really want to counter anyway, aside from a Phoenix. And to be honest, if they have also the Phoenix and the rule, what the fuck? This is a first. Alright, well, it's not necessarily a Phoenix. It does get pretty large. I can attack past it though, which is the most important part. So I'm gonna put an Obsession on here, and we're off to the races, to be honest. Which, pretty confident I'll win. We'll see. I mean, I have 2 counter spells here, and I'm the first person to get the 5 hit in. Yeah. So when I am drawing a little bit of lands, that's a bit unfortunate, but I mean, at least the lands help me with the racing. It sucks though, because with the math how it works out, if I could have gotten 2 extra points of damage in with the Mistcloaked Herald, I would have a full turn clock shorter, right? Because this is 5 plus 6 plus 7. So that puts me at, that's 18 damage, right? So I'm still at a 4 turn clock, unfortunately. So opponent has no fear, also swinging in. They're on a 5 turn clock with maintaining status quo. Lightning Strike turns their clock down a full turn, but I still don't think I lose to it. I think I would lose to just like them resolving another creature. So I'm okay with this. Perfect. That's what I want to see, because it's a blocker. I'm not really concerned with I'm not going to block yet as well. Oh, wow, another Jhin. That's even better. I really want to leave up the counters just in case he might have a Phoenix. Like, you can make an argument like, oh, he was playing Varix Bladewing. Maybe it's a budget deck. I mean, still, that could just be a one of. He might have like 2 out of the 3 Phoenixes most mono red decks have in their 60, and this could be like topping out the other end. This could also be a new deck entirely, where it's like a big mono red deck, and maybe the deck is designed to kick and has a bunch of removal spells, but I feel like he would have used that already. So no blocks here. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to counter things that are blockers to the Jhin to keep up my clock, or things that kill me faster. I mean, it's pretty simple. And if the counters don't convert to anything, I'm okay with that. That's interesting. Wonder why that for one. Maybe he wants to leave up a blocker. So I'm gonna actually, this is tempo neutral for both of us. I'm gonna retort this. The main reason why is because this retort can't block for me, right? Siren Storm Tamer can block, retorts can't. And I'm just, once again, just going to swing in with this. And there's almost the consideration. Yes, okay. So since I have a Mistcloaked Herald, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the Jhin as another blocker and play the Mistcloaked Herald. Right, yeah, play the Mistcloaked Herald and then leave up 1 retort instead of just leaving up 2 counter spells. I just think that having multiple attackers for lethal is just best way, because they need to deal with that or kill me now, and it's really hard to kill me if they're not getting attack in as well as through multiple retorts. And it's almost consideration to block with the Tempest Jhin on the Varix Bladewing than with the Siren Storm Tamer, because this will still keep the counter spells at 2 mana. Wow. That's a first. Yeah, he's tapped out for this. I'm just retorting it, and that should be game. So this seems like definitely a way bigger red burn deck, right? Just really big X spells. It's just a slower version of mono red, so I guess that shifts. It makes it more controlling, so that naturally shifts the mechanics of the matchup in my favor, because I trade up with man advantage. All right, so that's 4 wins, 4 and 2. That's definitely better than that. That's more in line with the previous leagues when I used to grind much earlier. To be honest, part of me thinks when I did go 0-3, I'm not gonna lie, I was actually I was a bit busy. I was partially reading, so maybe the great drop in performance could just been because it's a very thin margin deck. So triple 1-drop, I'm just not gonna mulligan these hand. I'm gonna mulligan this hand. Triple 1-drops are almost irrelevant, right? The third 1-drop is almost irrelevant in my opinion. You want at least 1-1-drop, one way to protect it, one way to snowball with obsession. So 2 1-drops is fine. 3 is too much. Plus this 1 land, you just want to get rid of it. Hand is a bit better. Siren Storm Tamer to Stormfleet Aerialist, and then these 2 tricksters can really keep the opponent off balance. So I'm happy with it. I'm gonna scry that away, to be honest. I don't think I need the land drops yet. Maybe I'll run into them later. Oh well, there you go. Run into them anyway. I guess what I do want to see in this hand is, obviously an obsession. So this looks like it might be green-white tokens, or the more aggressive variant of Selesnya. Okay, there's an Immortal Sun, so this is definitely green-white tokens. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to resolve the Stormfleet Aerialists here. And then it's really, really difficult to race them. I'm hoping that these tricksters allow me the luxury of being able to race them. The issue is that they'll block these tricksters. So these tricksters are only good, really, for like tapping down a big fat creature. Because these tricksters, I'll be surprised if they get multiple hits in, or enough damage in for it to matter. Yeah, like look at these. There's a bunch of 2-3 vigilance, man. Like tricksters can't do anything against it. It can tap it down for a turn, but like when we're both at like 19 to 20 life totals, it really matters. So at this point, one of my best turns would be probably tapping down the Bugler and trading with the Merfolk Branchwalker, which just feels miserable against a, the green-white deck that's okay with trading off its creatures. Yeah. So this is pretty feels bad right now. I need more power in the air. I need a Djinn, of course. Oh, they bend it. So there's only two reasons I can see why they probably would have been on March of the Multitudes. A, they have one in hand, and they can just really blow me out. Or B is that, okay, so I'm trading off here because it's just way more power. That's Mystical Carol. That's not what I want to see right now. All right, come on, give me a Djinn, man, give me a Djinn. And so this is the reason why I actually do like Stormfleet Aerialists. They're just two power flyer, just makes such a big difference. Well, not a big difference, but it makes a significant enough difference. Okay, so they got a Forest. I mean, I just really want to know what's in their hand, right? They don't have any Conclave Tribunal, so, well, I mean, it's not really worth removing any of these things. That's why I want to keep Stormtamer alive, so I can at least protect the Djinn for one turn if it needs be. So once again, I'm trading here, and this Mystical Carol will keep the 2/1 off bay. So that was a very curious. I don't know how I beat a Wild Growth Walker most of the time, to be honest. It just gains so much life, and especially when it comes to what I think is a pretty close racing situation here, right? I'm not blocking anymore. So what I'm gonna do is if they resolve like a if they try to resolve like a an exploring creature, I have to make sure the Wild Growth Walker loses abilities. So that's I'll be forced to race, but I have to leave up the Merfolk Trickster now, unless I draw a counterspell. Alright, that's very unfortunate. Looks like they're probably going to get rid of the Stormfleet Aerialists. And I think the chances of me drawing a Djinn is very low, so I will have to sacrifice the Conch. I'll have to sacrifice it to protect the Stormfleet Aerialists. My 3 power in the air. There's another consideration. I have to just take this, right? I have to take this 5 damage here. They have a 4-turn clock on me. I have a 3-turn clock on them. But thing is though, the second one Explore trigger resolves, I lose. All right, this is, oh, dude, that's gross. Okay, what do I do here? I can actually tap down Trostani. It's interesting. I can almost win this, in my opinion, if I draw Curiosity next turn. I mean, Trostani is resolving. The question is, what do I do? Do I tap down anything? Do I tap down the Wild Growth Walker? Or do I tap down Trostani, block the Wild Growth Walker? I mean, that's 3 blockers on the ground too, so that's super brutal. Like, you thought you would gain a turn? Man, that's so much life gain. How much is coming in at me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not I also need to convert the dive down to a real card. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna let them go into attacks. Doesn't want to attack with the Wild Growth. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna tap down to Trostani. He's gonna lose the Anthem ability. And then I'm gonna go to blocks. I'm gonna block the Branch Walker. I'm not even sure this actually does anything useful, to be honest, because this is gonna be so much life gain, right? It's gonna be 4 life gain per turn. Oh, that's brutal, man. I'm doing 3 damage per turn. The only way I can out damage that would be a Djinn. So if I draw Obsession or a Djinn next turn, I could sort of do it. So it's not worth blocking here yet, right? Because I want to protect the Djinn if I do find one. All right, what do you got for me? Nothing. All right. Yeah, to be honest, that's just unfortunate. That sucks. Yeah, so let's just go through here. this is actually this is definitely hindsight, but as you can see, I mean, a retort would have done the same thing. Essence Scatter would have. I guess it's just unfortunate I didn't find it. And that's here's the biggest thing too. These 3 Merfolk Tricksters, I never ever want to see Merfolk Tricksters early on. I know they're the core, but they're just not good enough, right? They're not good enough to justify, in my opinion, most of the time. So how much is this? There's a lethal swing at me, so I have to probably block the bugler here. If I do, I still die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm still dead. Yep, got me. Oh, I guess sleep was another route, right? So let's see what else what else I had. People are if you're wondering why Jin would have been an out, I would have not attacked that turn. I would have protected the Jin, blocked everything accordingly, and then so yeah, so I made my money back, right? 500 gold. It was 500 gold to get in, and let's see what the rares are. 1 rare, bounty of might. Yeah, just more trash. All right. I think I'm just gonna go into just the post game thoughts. So sleep would have been an out. Retort would not have been an out. I would nice to have either retort or the essence scatter. Spell pierces would have been or the curious obsession. So I think I only had really 8 outs there at that point. Yeah, okay guys, I hope you guys enjoy this. I'll probably post more of these. I want to try doing a lot better. 4-3, that's like what? That's like 4 out of 7, so that's like about mid 50% win rate. I think that's pretty good. Although I don't know, I can't seem to replicate the earlier success. I would easily crush 7-0, 7-1 with this deck repeatedly. So I don't know if just my play pattern has evolved and it gotten worse and degraded, or if the meta has changed. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video.